Yofukashinouta or Call of the Night was a manga series that I finally decided to read after watching Gigak's interestingly titled video on it. I did know about it for a while but only started reading after that video. The core concept and the idea behind it really intrigued me, and after reading 30 or so chapters which were really enjoyable, I found out that it was getting adapted into an anime, and after looking at the trailer I decided to put the manga on hold and wait for the adaptation. After all, the trailer looked really promising. Having a competent director and staff behind it, it had to be really good, right? Well, it is. It is really good. Some might even say it's great. I say it's brilliant. We will mostly be talking about the visuals here and not much about the actual narrative. Like and subscribe if you don't want to get called out into the night and shot in the face. That didn't need to be violent. Like and subscribe, and let's get started. If you read the manga, it will be fairly obvious that the biggest strength of this series is its all-around aesthetic, something which is tricky to adapt properly into an animated form. It is a crucial aspect of this series, and if not done right, the whole show would be ruined. And I am pleased to report that the anime nails it to perfection and beyond. The whole idea behind this series is to portray the night as this exciting, adventurous and mysterious time, while also simultaneously maintaining a sense of serenity and calm, something which the hectic daytime lacks. The point is to make the night feel like something the audience would want to be a part of, and this can be done by making it look as appealing as possible. And oh boy, do they make it look appealing. The phenomenal color palettes, the alternating yellow and pink stretches of the sky. Realistically, the colors make no sense, but this bit of visual exaggeration works perfectly. Those stunning frames of the night sky and that gorgeous lighting that makes even the most dull things stand out. All of it looks amazing. The color work in this show is genuinely out of this world. Another thing they do, which is a bit more subtle and something you may not have noticed, is that whenever a scene takes place in the daytime, they make the visuals appear as normal and average as possible. They even add a small amount of bloom effect on the scenery and backgrounds, which essentially makes the daytime scenes look almost sterile. The composite during the daytime scenes are intentionally very normal looking, which in contrast makes the nighttime stand out even more than it already does, as the composite during the night goes out of its way to appear eye-catching. Also, the series has extremely competent directing, often featuring shots where the characters are small and insignificant when compared to their backgrounds, especially in the early goings of the show, emphasizing the night itself as opposed to just the characters. Cinematic shots and well-timed camera movements, perfectly placed blurs, and unique camera angles, you name it. The manga had an extremely creative and unique art style. I personally find it difficult to describe it in words, but there will be some manga panels on the screen. Comment down your own interpretation of the art style if you want, because I can't articulate it well. The line work and character designs in the manga are really good looking, and the anime somehow manages to replicate this art style quite well, playing around with the outlines and line work. And that's not all. It's obvious that the staff had some time to make this anime. Great looking backgrounds, artwork and storyboards aside, the actual animation too is really good looking. A recent episode actually featured somewhat of an action scene, and I was looking forward to seeing how they do it. And oh boy, they snapped. Starting with this fast moving hand-drawn background animation and Nazuna's erratic movements, which are difficult for both the eye and the non-existent camera to keep up with, followed shortly by some really well done hand-to-hand combat animation. You can tell that they have the ability to show off visually. Even before this, you could always spot these fluid movements and fabric animations sprinkled in throughout the episodes. They have the resources and time to pull those off. You can tell that the entire visual department has a very good grasp of the aesthetic of the series. They know the appeal behind it, and they know the aspects where their efforts should be directed towards. All of these factors come together to make this series incredibly pleasing to look at. The series is also incredibly pleasing to listen to. The soundtrack is wonderful, featuring the opening and ending songs as well as some other stuff from the rap duo Creepy Nuts, and the several questions I have about that name aside, their music for this show is really fun to listen to. It has that modern touch to it, which is just what this anime needs. They fit perfectly with the chaotic part of the night. Other songs from the soundtrack are the soothing, lo-fi tracks that accompanies the serene part of the nighttime. It's just the perfect match. It accentuates the already amazing visuals, creating this really strong all-around aesthetic presence. Also, let's talk about the actual narrative for a second. One of the core ideas and concepts behind the series is obviously escapism. An escape from the mundane, an escape from the monotone. The daytime is a symbol of this tedious lifestyle, while the night is a time of freedom. The human characters in the show are all either people who are done with this monotone lifestyle or are on the brink of collapsing from it. Our protagonist was in search of a symbol of freedom and he found it, turning into a vampire. Now, realistically, turning into a vampire would do very little for him, but at the very least, it's not the same old every day. This series points a finger at how dull and uneventful the modern lifestyle can get and how this mundane life can drive people nuts, while also pointing out how something as simple as taking a walk in the middle of the night can cheer us up. It's an incredibly creative and painfully relatable idea, and it's amazing how the author manages to structure an entire series around it. I mean, our protagonist is a kid. Is he being a little too overdramatic about his predicament? Absolutely. But that shows how different people have different levels of tolerance when it comes to this way of living. There also happens to be plenty of likable characters, snarky dialogue that I love so much, and some well-placed comedy, which for me at least always seems to land well. When all of that is accompanied by the amazing aesthetic, visuals, soundtrack and direction we talked about earlier, this show genuinely becomes really fun to watch. One of the, if not the best, the season has to offer. It's a show with a strong presence and I for one love pretty much everything about it. So that was it. What do you think about this show? Do you think it's the anime of the season? Comment down below. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and until next time.